Hey, it's Rick Kettner here, and in this episode, we're going to go through 3 powerful insights from Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. This book is all about how leaders can build a strong and effective culture. It really explains the importance of building a strong circle of safety within your organization, and it goes on to explain exactly how to achieve that. So if you're a leader, founder, manager, CEO, or really anybody else interested in building and leading a strong culture, then I recommend that you consider picking up a copy of Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. With that said, let's dive into my 3 favorite insights, beginning with insight number 1. Leaders must establish a circle of safety. There are 2 kinds of dangers that employees and teams face when working in an organization. There are outside dangers and there are inside dangers. So outside dangers would include things like direct competitors, alternative solutions in the marketplace, and even things like market conditions that might change and cause the business to have to adjust course or change their strategy. Internal dangers are things that happen within the organization between individual employees or between teams or between an employee and their leader or manager. So these might include things like conflict, rejection, intimidation, humiliation, paranoia, and these kinds of things that for the one employee that might be dealing with something like this can lead to a sense that they're losing social status, or depending on the level of conflict, it might actually lead to them losing their status of employment at the business. So if you have a culture where people feel like they're pitted against each other, these kinds of internal dangers can be a major source of wasted time and energy in the organization. So effective leaders aim to create a strong circle of safety within their organizations. The ideal goal here is to eliminate or at least greatly reduce the internal dangers within an organization. Because without a circle of safety, individuals are forced to protect themselves. They have to burn their time, energy, creativity, and focus around self-preservation, about protecting their status in the social hierarchy, protecting their job, protecting themselves from internal dangers within the organization, whereas with a circle of safety, employees can put their energy and their time into moving the organizational goals forward, and they have a much stronger sense of loyalty, trust, and cooperation that allows them to work much more effectively. So with that said, let's continue on to insight number 2. Manage culture by managing brain chemicals. As human beings, we evolved to survive in very dangerous situations with very limited resources. And as a result, our brains are really optimized around individual and group survival. And to make this easier, or to make this happen, our brain releases different chemicals that guide our experience through the way that we feel. So for example, releasing these chemicals in our brain can make us feel happiness, pride, joy, or even things like anxiety. So positive and negative emotions that then can cause us to maybe change our behavior in specific situations, or reward us for taking certain actions. And so let's quickly go through these 5 chemicals to have a better understanding of how they influence our behavior. The first 2 are endorphins and dopamine, and they promote individual or selfish goals. So endorphins mask physical pain. They help us muscle through hard labor. They are what cause a runner's high. So if you complete a marathon or you're on a 10K run and you feel really great, well, it's endorphins that are giving you that feeling. They're helping you push through a difficult situation by making you feel good instead of focusing on the physical pain. Dopamine, on the other hand, rewards action, like completing a task or eating food or taking on some other major accomplishment. And the greater the accomplishment is, the stronger hit of dopamine we get. And this makes us feel good. Now, as you may be aware, Dopamine is also associated with all kinds of negative addictions like gambling or excessive social media use or pursuing other selfish goals that can be, in some situations, very self-destructive. But the basic premise behind dopamine is that it rewards us taking an action that we might not otherwise take that might be important towards our survival. But like endorphins, it's more directed towards individual survival. The next two chemicals are serotonin and oxytocin, and these promote social activities and cooperation. So serotonin gives us a strong feeling of pride. It makes us feel strong and confident, like we can take on anything. We perform at our best when we have chemicals like this flowing through our system. And oxytocin creates a feeling of friendship, love, trust. This is what causes generosity. This is what causes connection and loyalty. Oxytocin is very, very important when it comes to working well with others. The fifth and final chemical is cortisol, which alerts us to potential danger and prepares us to protect ourselves. We have a feeling of stress or anxiety, and that feeling can either lead to a fight or flight response, or it can lead us to simply recognize that something is wrong and we need to be prepared to protect our own self-interest. So this is intended to be a very short-term response, something that lets us know we're in danger so that we can deal with the situation. But as the book explains, in certain organizations where there are a lot of internal dangers and conflicts, we can end up stuck in this high stress state where we have cortisol flowing through our system, and cortisol inhibits things like oxytocin, so we're less able to collaborate with others, we're more looking out for our own self-interest, and this, of course, leads us to be significantly less effective. Now, the reason why understanding all of this is really important is because when it comes to creating a strong circle of safety, what we're trying to do is create an environment in which the right chemicals are flowing, where we're not having as much cortisol or even dopamine to a lesser degree, but where we're encouraging the kinds of activities and situations that promote serotonin and oxytocin that allow us to feel happier and more collaborative and more trusting and more loyal and more able to take on big challenges as a team and as an organization. So with all of that in mind, let's continue on to insight number 3. Focus on supporting and protecting your people. Just as our ability to survive as a species is largely based on cooperation and teamwork over individual accomplishment, organizations that prioritize collaboration, teamwork, and internal trust perform significantly better. That's one of the key messages in the book. And of course, as I mentioned in the last tip, our brains reward this kind of behavior with serotonin and oxytocin that really make us feel good when we're collaborating with others. They make us happier, they make us physically healthier, and allow us to be much more effective at work. So as a leader, our role at the end of the day is to teach people the rules, help them gain competency in their role, and build their confidence. And once we've established that, we must step back and trust them to make the right choices, to make the right moves, give them the autonomy that they need to go to work and ultimately get the job done. And our role as leaders is to focus on maintaining a circle of safety to protect them from internal dangers, to allow them to focus on their work, to allow them to focus on tackling the outside dangers or the external dangers. We provide the circle of safety, we provide cover from above, we make sure that they're able to do their job effectively, and we're there to support them with a circle of safety so that they feel much better, they're far more productive, and they're mentally and physically healthier and are performing at their best. So done right, if we take the ideas from this book, what this does is it allows the team to focus all of their energy, or as much of their energy as possible, on outside dangers, and not just as individuals that feel isolated within the organization, but of course together as a united team. Anyway, those are three of my favorite insights from the book. Let me quickly recap all three for you. Number one, leaders must establish a circle of safety. Number two, manage culture by managing brain chemicals. And finally, number three, focus on supporting and protecting your people. There's so much more covered in the book that we simply cannot address in this short format, including many more practical tips when it comes to how to execute this strategy, advice on building a strong circle of safety within your organization, and some very practical tips when it comes to working more effectively with millennials, the next generation of talented people entering the workforce. So if you're a leader, manager, CEO, founder, or anybody else interested in building and leading a strong culture, I recommend that you consider picking up a copy of Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. Anyway, that's it for this episode. If you have any questions or comments about anything that we covered here, let me know down in the comment section below. And if you're listening to the audio edition, I'll include a link in the show notes that'll take you over to the video edition where you can participate in the comments. If you're interested in more content like this in the future, I recommend that you subscribe or follow my updates on social media. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to connecting with you again in a future episode.